Not
that much.
Yeah, don't
scooch
her out of the picture.
No, she's here.
People
Hey guys, I think we're live. Yeah. Hey guys.
Hi.
We're back again.
Here we are. Yes.
All three of us this time.
All three of us. Yeah. We I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit nervous about this live. I mean, if last month's live was the most ambitious we've ever done, I mean, this probably isn't, but I think it's a close second.
Yeah.
It's been a tumultuous 3 weeks since our last live.
Yeah.
Last month's live.
Wasn't it like later. 2 weeks actually?
I don't know. Who's keeping count?
Well, I am. Because she's 3.5 weeks old now. And she was what? Half week. Yeah, so 3 weeks. Okay,
3 weeks.
3 makes sense.
Yeah. And I think the biggest wild card now is the kids. It's kind of funny because we just posted a video about how to get our kids to bed early and showing off how well they sleep and they go to bed by themselves, and it's really nice and easy. The last couple of weeks, especially since she was born.
Period. Luca's our second youngest. He's 2 tomorrow. He's been just like not wanting to go to sleep at night, but he's quiet right now, so
fingers crossed. Yep.
He's just reacting to not being the youngest anymore, but it's okay.
We might have more visitors. That's my point with this. At least it's not as warm as it was last time.
No, not at all. Hey, we got a few people here. Yep. Say hi, okay? We'd love to know who's here and how you're doing and what your day was like, and just like say hi.
How you're sleeping.
How your kids are sleeping, if you have any. Yeah, exactly.
Should we dive in?
Let's dive in. What's this topic?
We're talking today about relationship challenges that have made us stronger. This was actually a suggestion by one of you guys it's been probably more than half a year since it was suggested. We were going to do it in the spring, and then like COVID happened and we shifted things around and But the idea is basically we're going to talk about things that we've gone through as a couple. We've been together for 12 years, been married for 11 years, and
it has not all been a dance on roses, let me tell you. So we're just going to share some of the things that we've gone through. And how haven't just sucked and been horrible, but we've actually learned something from some of those moments as well.
Yeah, not in like and then we learned this and that's the grand takeaway, and then you should do exactly the same thing. But more like let's talk about it. There are a few things that we have picked up. Hopefully you can learn a thing or two. Hopefully you can pitch in as well with some of the things that you've learned or are struggling with. We'd love to hear those as well. We have been discussing, haven't we, like these lives, because I mean, we've been doing them for a while now. I think we started off in kind of trying to replicate our other videos in like a live format. And I think that's maybe missing out on an opportunity to have more of an interaction. So that's what we're hoping to do. And at the same time, maybe tone it down a little bit and just have more of an informal discussion with you guys. So thanks for joining us.
I'm going to start with something though.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about things that we've gone through and all that. I remember our first argument, like our first fight. And at least that's what I remember as our first fight. What do you think of when you think of our first fight?
You're putting me on the spot.
Yeah. What is our first fight, Peter?
I don't think we've ever fought. I don't know.
So
I remember fighting. We had a fight in our first apartment. In Funborg in Copenhagen. Your back was hurting. I don't think I came off as a very like noble, chivalrous person.
Well, don't worry, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, well, let's not go there at all.
No, this was before that. This was actually like a week before our wedding. We were here in Denmark. We've been around Copenhagen like all day with some of my friends or something, and there was a misunderstanding. I jumped out of the metro. You were still in there, like. Something happened and you got really upset, and I remember just being like annoyed at you and angry at you, but more than that, just like super terrified that you're gonna call off the wedding. This is like a week before our wedding, and I was just like terrified that you were just like, oh, that's it, he doesn't want to marry me anymore, like it's just over. Nothing that dramatic happened. Like we made up that evening.
We did end up getting married.
We got married
on
the next
time.
week.
Yeah.
And we made up that evening and everything was fine, but it just kind of like stood out to me now that we were talking about this, that, oh my goodness, so many times we just overreact and we just like play things out way too far in our head instead of just having a rational conversation about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's very accurate. And now we have a few ideas of what we want to talk about. I think most of the instances of like challenges that we've had in our relationship have had very much to do with the communications and like communicating in different ways. It's had to do with our expectations. We'll get back into that in a little bit. And so I think, a lot of the time it's like simple communication tricks, or I won't say tricks, because it's things that we've picked up that are, very specific to you, very specific to me throughout the years. And that's kind of helped us to not repeat more than need be the arguments that we've had previously. I've noticed a couple of people trickling in, trickling out. I haven't seen any comments yet, so please do say hi. We'd love to have you participate in this with us.
Yeah, and also like please write and comment like what are some of the areas that you and your significant other clash the most. I guess like a lot of people, like I looked at this statistically, like I looked at the statistics for this topic, and most people they fight over money or over what is it?
Intimacy?
Yeah, intimacy.
Yeah.
But like those are actually not some of the areas that we fight over the most. But like right, like is it communication that is your guys' most like often fought over topic, or what is it?
Yeah.
For us, one example of an argument we had early on in our marriage as well. It was like we just got married, I moved to Iceland, we lived there, and the first Saturday after the whole wedding thing was over, I remember that you were like, okay, I'm going to go to football. And I was like, what? You're going to go to football? Like, I knew you went to football on Saturdays, but we were dating long distance before. So he had Saturdays to go to football. Now we were together and we were like living together. And I was like, no, Saturdays, it was like lounge in bed and like have lazy Saturdays together and just like, and we're like, enjoy it. And I was just like, I wasn't expecting you to go to football every Saturday. So that was like, I was like, huh? So I think that was like a big thing of like us having different expectations for what was coming up.
Yeah. I can't help but wonder though, like what your expectations, if that was to lounge in beds on Saturday, because I think I was playing at like noon on Saturdays back then.
I don't remember what time it was. I remember thinking that.
Either you had very high expectations or that's what life really was like before having kids, which makes very well. I don't remember that whole period. It's just like, went by in a bit of a blur. Yeah. Hey, Crystal.
Oh, hi, Crystal. Hey, y'all. I love that. I see y'all.
Yeah.
Because she's from Texas.
Very Texas.
What was it? No. So the thing is, I learned after we had a talk about it, after I expressed my mismatch of understanding of why you want to go to football every single Saturday, that football isn't the same for you as it would be for me. Like for me, it'd be like, oh, let's go hang out with my friends, or for your buddies or something as you play football. But for you and for a lot of other men that I know, it's different from that. It's like you want to run as fast as you can and get all your energy out that you build out throughout the week. Or I know I've talked to some of my friends and they say their husbands say the exact same thing. Like they need to get that energy out. Like they need to get that
clash with the other alpha males and just like all the.
But I'm just saying, like it means something different to you than just going and hanging out with your friends. It's not just a hangout. It's like getting energy out, running around, like getting exercise in.
No, I think that's accurate. I think and especially because I don't really enjoy a lot of other forms of exercise, so that's something that I do and I enjoy and I get a good exercise in. So yeah. But you do make it sound a little bit more mysterious than it actually is. It's just it's football, I guess. Soccer, football.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but it's important to understand where you're all coming from, so you're not just like expecting like them to feel the way that you feel about a topic, but you actually try and ask each other questions and understand like, oh, that's why you want to go to football every Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And then we just compromised and found out, okay, we'll do something later on in the day, and then Sunday was more of our family day than Saturday was. Yeah.
Your expectations, you mentioned like fireworks when we were preparing for this. Like I have expectations for how many fireworks we should buy over New Year's. That's a big thing in Iceland. That's a huge thing in Iceland
and Denmark, but not as big for me as it is for you.
No, I as a kid, I remember going to my uncle's, a place that he'd rented because he lived abroad, but he came over for for New Year's Eve. That's also his birthday, Uncle Tommy.
Mm.
And he spent like ludicrous amounts of money on fireworks. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be rich, and I primarily wanted to be rich so I could spend money on fireworks.
Exactly. So our first New Year's together, you like sat me down like before New Year's, like, okay, Christine, let's talk about the budget for New Year's. I'm like, the budget for New Year's? You mean like the food and the snacks? He's like, no, the firework budget. And you wanted to spend like a month's pay or something. I was like, what the
Easy
heck?
now.
Like, I remember thinking like, no way.
No,
so then
we're working our way up to a month's pay spent purely on fireworks, but we're not there yet.
So
Not
we
even
had
close.
a back and forth little like give and take. You said an amount, I went lower, and then back and forth until we settled on an amount. And I was like, okay, I guess that's how we're doing it.
Yeah.
Do you guys
compromise?
Okay, so I know you're from a lot of different places in the world, but is fireworks a big thing for New Year's for you? Like we were just in Texas last New Year's, and we spent a lot of money on fireworks. You just have to go outside city limits and buy the fireworks, and then
I did a whole heck of a lot of research on trying to figure out like what was the best place to go so that we could, have kind of our traditional New Year's celebrations, but also not break any laws or light the
not to
state
break
on
any laws. Yeah.
fire.
Crystal, do you guys do fireworks on New Year's for you guys?
Just a
Let us
4th
know.
of July thing? I think that's more
Yeah,
common
maybe.
in the States. Yeah.
No. Anyways.
Yep. Okay. So you said earlier that finances haven't really been something that we have clashed on. I think we've been sensible. I don't want to come across as like, oh, we have so much money that this has never been an issue for us. I think
That's the case.
No, and especially with the new addition to the family. We did sit down the other day and we're like, okay, well, they're going to start daycare next year. Actually, both of them, Olivia and, oh, by the way, Olivia.
That's her name.
Yeah.
We
I don't
haven't
think
even
we
told you.
announced that. Yeah. Some of you asked last time if she had a name, and yes, she does. Olivia Elisabeth Ono Brynjolfsdottir. So that's a mouthful. But Olivia, or as Lucas calls her, Libby.
Olivia.
Livia.
So that's kind of her nickname
Yeah.
now. Anyways.
What was I saying? I
We're
can't
talking
remember.
about money.
Yeah. So we found out we're it's going to cost a lot of money, and we're trying to figure out how it'll all work together. So, but it hasn't been something that we've had like massive challenges over. But there has been, one instance I think where we kind of differed. But a couple of comments before we dive into that. Oh yes, we spend at least $500. I love that. Okay, so I don't. Sadie and Bell, I noticed that you commented on one of the other videos,
A few other videos,
and we were talking about the
Her
name.
name,
Yeah, so
is that pronounced correctly?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to ask.
Sadie and Bell. Is that right or is that wrong? Let us know. Anyways, and then Crystal. We have tons of fireworks, and so do the neighbors.
Brilliant. So next time we're in Texas, maybe
We'll just come by you.
Come over to your place.
We don't know where you live, so don't worry.
Yeah, did that come across as a little creepy? Sorry. Cedian.
Oh.
That's very, very beautiful.
Oh, really nice.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that name before.
No. Beautiful name.
Where were we? Yeah, so money, budgeting and saving up. So I think I've always wanted to kind of put money aside and just to be on the safe side in general.
I've always been really good with saving up money for something I wanted. So if I wanted like a pair of really expensive designer jeans, save up for those, buy and be really happy with them. If I want to go on a trip, like a shopping trip in New York, save up for that. Save up plenty of money to spend while shopping, and then I went, and then I was at zero again. So that's how I always did until I buried him.
Yeah.
I never went into minus though, but I always like save up something and then back to zero. Save up something, back to zero.
Well, okay, let me put you on the spot now this time around. How would you feel about like having kept that same like methodology for dealing with money now?
Well, that's what I wanted when we first got married. I remember like our first budgeting session, budgeting session. That's what you get when you marry this guy. So I sat down and you were like, hey, let's do our budget. I'm like, okay. So we sat down, we did our budget, and he's like, wait, we should put 10% aside for rainy day. I'm like, rainy day what? Like, what are we saving for? He's like, just in case. Like, just in case what? Like, I just couldn't wrap my head around just putting money aside for no reason. So in the end, he just said, for a house, Christina. Like, okay, we're saving for a house. So now, 11 years later, I am really happy for that. because that rainy day fund has helped us so many times when the car broke down or when like different things happened or when we wanted to buy a
Dryer
house
breaks down,
or when we did buy a house.
yeah.
So
yeah. So
all these things. So
I
that's
don't
good.
think that was a massive challenge. It was just
No.
I mean, maybe it kind of goes back to this making sure we have the same expectations. So and I think we've aligned on that. So maybe no like huge lessons learned in addition to what we've already talked about.
No, but I think it's like it's because that we kind of aligned on that, because that we decided early on that we should both be part of the budgeting. Because it could be a lot easier for you just to do it and then like have it all settled.
We do have joint economies, by the way. So I know a lot of people don't. I think sitting down together, looking at the budgeting, because I think what we've managed to avoid in terms of challenges is this like me feeling like, oh, you're spending so much money on this, that, or the other.
Or me feeling like, why can't I spend money on this? Like, what are you saving all those money for?
Yeah.
All those
monies.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's we've avoided some of those pitfalls because we did that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Couple of comments. More comments.
Olivia.
Hello, Olivia. Love fireworks. Crystal says
Jeanette.
we're always welcome. That's
You shouldn't say that.
And we can homeschool our children. We were actually thinking about like what are the different permutations of like, kids going to school or not and daycare and like work and whatnot.
How much money would we save or miss out on if I quit my job and stuff?
For now we're good.
I am a teacher. For now we're good. I'm on maternity leave until like May, June next year. So until then, we're fine.
How about homeschooling though?
We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not excited about the topic.
We probably will talk about it though.
We will.
Because we're very analytical in that way. Like we'll sit down and just weigh the pros and cons. So I think, and it isn't something that we actually discussed already. So that would be a fun discussion. Maybe I'll homeschool the kids.
Maybe you should. And I'll go to work.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Brilliant.
We'll see.
All right. Next one.
Yeah.
Speaking of Texas.
Oh yeah. That was our next point. Our next story. Why don't you take
next
this one?
challenge? No, we're making it sound worse than it is. Well, it was pretty bad, but it had nothing to do with Texas per se. We love Texas. But when we moved to Texas, we moved there for me going to university.
Grad school.
Yeah. Went to UT Austin. Switched programs. So I did engineering management for my undergraduate program. And then I switched into mechanical engineering, which is usually, I think you do it like the other way around. And that was a challenge. I knew it would be a challenge because it's more, technically heavy, than what I did for my undergraduate studies. I certainly did not have the same foundation as a lot of my friends in the program. And then I thought I thought it was all that. And so like, I was like, oh, let's just get all the difficult classes done with.
In your first semester.
I asked a couple of people and they're like, no, you probably shouldn't do like the advanced calculus and the thermodynamics and fluids all in the same semester. I'm like, and then I did, and I've never felt like such an idiot, both because of that decision I made, and then being around there were so many freaking smart kids in that program that had like way more experience, and I think were just like more clever than I was.
So basically that first semester, I was a single mom, and I saw my husband when he slept next to me, and that was about it. For those 6 months.
It was all jokes aside, like it was a very, very difficult time because it was obviously I wanted to do well for my studies. I didn't see you guys. I felt like I kind of needed your support, but then you're also not going to be support in a lot of the areas where I felt like I was really struggling when it just kind of came down to the assignments that I was working on and stuff like that. And so there was like that push and pull that was also just hampered by the fact that I just spent a lot of time at university. And then on top of that, I think, actually, speaking of finances, maybe we lied a little bit earlier. The scholarship that I got was dependent on, me maintaining like a certain grade average.
In your first semester.
Yeah. And I was very nervous about that. So that was a super stressful time for me. It was a super stressful time for us.
In very different ways.
Yeah.
Like I was in a new place, didn't know anyone, with Marcus who started biting everything and everyone around him. So I was just like chasing around the playground because he was just teeth first wherever he was.
I remember.
And
Oh my
goodness.
gosh.
And it was just, and I didn't sleep in it basically at all. So it was really hard. But the thing is, like, I just needed more us time. That was what I needed to get through, and you could really have used that, but you just didn't find time for it because there wasn't a lot of time left in the day. So I mean, that was a really hard time for us there. So what did we do to kind of get around that?
Sorry, but
oh, sorry,
yeah,
you have more to say.
I was just thinking that like a lot of it also had to do with the fact that we just weren't able to spend enough time communicating together to kind of like bring some of the things that we were feeling up to the surface, some of the things that we were experiencing. I think, and when you're in that space, my experience at least is that you start making a whole lot of assumptions about like, what are you thinking? And what are you feeling? And I think if you act on those rather than like clarifying and making sure we're on the same page before we start trying to solve stuff or then I think you run the risk of basically taking something that, yes, was a problem, was an issue for us, but making it into something that's bigger or just something that it never was. So,
for example, I was super worried that he was going to be at university all day and there are all those cute university chicks around, and I think he's pretty hot. So I was like, and in Denmark, we have our wedding rings on our right hand. So I was like, no, but we're switching our rings to our left hand because I'm not having that. They don't know you're married. And he's like, obviously now when I look back at it, he's like, why? Like, it wasn't even an issue for you, but for me at home, it just gave me peace of mind knowing that you had your wedding ring on the left hand. So I think that's something that you did. It's just kind of like give your partner cut them some slack. And even if you don't see the importance of something as important to them, then if it's not a big deal, then just do it.
I was just walking around campus like this.
I'm married. Thanks for that, hon.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
This is Cedian's mother, Tiffany. I love to watch both of you. You both give me such good ideas. You encourage me to have a better relationship with my husband. That's wonderful.
Yay.
We're glad you enjoy it. And thanks for being here. Yeah.
Yeah. Something else that works really well is, for me at least, surprises. They go a long way. And like, there wasn't a lot of time for you to like plan out surprises. But I do remember one day I was at home alone and all of a sudden the doorbell rings and it's this Tiff's Treats. It's a Austin thing, I think. But like came by with cookies and Ben & Jerry's ice cream and some flowers. And it's just from Ben. He just kind of sent me flowers and treats and just because. And that was really nice. And that goes a long way for me. We all have different like love languages or whatever you want to call them. But just surprises go a long way for me.
Yeah, you didn't know that the card was meant for you. The ice cream I was hoping would still be there when you got back.
When you came home. So yeah, you should have written that.
No, so how do you make sure that you have time for each other, and how do you make sure that you aren't making assumptions about each other, but that you kind of bring any underlying issues up to the surface? Do you have any good tricks?
Yeah, if you have any good tricks, please let us know. Like something else that works really well for us is like a date mindset. I think we've kind of developed this later on, but like the more kids you get, the less time you're alone. So it's like whenever we go to the grocery store alone and my parents have the kids for like 10 minutes, or we go check the mail or something, it's like, ooh, date. Like we make sure we look at each other. We're like, this is a date. Even if it's like a 5-minute date, it's like a date. So we have like a mindset of that.
We may be the most unromantic couple.
It's okay. It's time together where we hold hands, we look each other deep in the eyes, and we just kind of have like a brief moment of, oh, I love you. Back to the kiss. Yeah.
It works for us. What works for you guys?
Yeah. Let us know.
Yep.
We got some comments again.
I'm the same way about my husband being at work and I'm a homemaker. And yes, the struggle of worrying is real. Yeah,
it is.
I found a quote the other day that said, worrying is the abuse of imagination or misuse of imagination. I don't know who that was by, but I thought that was a really, really good quote.
Yeah.
Because I think, I'm a worrier. Definitely. Yeah. I spend a lot of time worrying about, this, that, and the other. And that kind of helped me flip things around a little bit. And it kind of goes back to this with, the assumptions. We actually talk about that a lot. Like when we are having a disagreement, I'll ask, is this an assumption? I'll say, okay, well, I think, you, this, that, or the other. Am I just assuming this, or is this something that
that's so helpful?
Did you see it the same way?
Yeah. That is so helpful.
And that's worked pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. I like Jeanette's comment here. So one thing she's seen in her parents' marriage is that they had to have some hobbies together outside of the family.
I think that's also important.
Yes, we've developed
Football.
hobbies together.
Yeah.
Outside of the football, it's not a
outside-
hobby together.
Well, you did join me for a whole trip through France to follow the Icelandic national team around.
Uh-huh.
That speaking of romantic things.
And then you said the code word there, through France. I joined you on a trip through France
So
to watch a few football games along the way.
lump that together.
Yes.
Yeah. Football in France, Disneyland, the beach.
There you go.
Nice food. Yeah, it's a good combo.
We went to a few football games while we were there. Exactly.
No, but yeah, having
No, but we didn't even know when we got married. We both kind of like board games, and then we just kind of like expanded on that, and we love board games together. It's not, we do it with the family very much too, but it's also something that as a couple we do.
Yeah.
Play board games.
Speaking of, we just recorded a video that'll come out in
a month or
so. Yeah. Where we decided we'd play a board game while we actually talk about like our normal stuff. Well, it's a card game more than a board game.
You'll wait and see. It's
Yeah,
gonna be fun.
yeah, but you know, and I'm very excited to see or hear what you think. So when it comes out, make sure you let us know, like what do you think of that format? Because it's not like a board game video or anything like that, but it's a step towards making our videos feel a little bit more like, hey, you're just like joining us as we're talking
Hanging
about
out.
this, that, or the other that has to do with family life, has to do with raising kids, staying on top of things, making sure that you get the best out of life with kids and family.
That you don't go crazy and you like stay your best self.
Yeah. So love to hear.
And thank you so much. She really likes our comment. Put it somewhere where she can read it daily.
Oh,
that's really nice.
Brilliant. So if you've just joined us, I see a few more people have trickled in. So make sure you say hi. We're talking about
hit the like button if you like what we're saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. When you like and subscribe, we get so excited about stuff like that. We notice actually. So no, but what was I saying? What are we talking about? We're talking about relationship challenges that have made us stronger.
And you kind of started on something that I wanted to like share a story about.
Okie dokes.
Because we talked about like these stories are things we've learned throughout the years, and we're so much smarter now. Not always the case, because like just the other day, like a week ago or something, you came home from work. It'd been a really hard day at work. You came home. You just got back from paternity leave, so it's a really hard day. And then like you sit in the room and you say, Christine, the dust in here really bothers me. And that was for you like a way to open up a conversation about dusting in the living room. And for me,
it wasn't very diplomatic.
Well, no, it wasn't bad at all either. But I had taken a nap that day. And what I heard him say was, Christine, you should have dusted instead of taking a nap, which was not at all what he said. But that's what I heard you say, even though you just said the dust in here bothers me. And that could have been like anything. So I think it's so important. And if we hadn't used those words that you just kind of told them about, how like, this is an assumption, or is it real? Yeah. Then it could have gone so wrong, and we could have yelled at each other, and just like the evening would have been ruined. Like it still took a little while for us to kind of like, oh yeah, this was what you meant or not. But it's so like something that works really well for us is like, okay, the facts are.
Yeah.
Like we say that like, okay, let's do a fact check here. The facts are, you said the dust bothers you. The facts are that there's dust on the PlayStation.
The fact is, you did.
The fact that I did take a nap. But what are the assumptions in this here conversation as well? Yeah. So that's what we do. We kind of like when we see things that are going wrong, then we're just like, okay, let's do a fact check. So then we're like, what the facts are, the assumptions are, and then we talk about that. And like a lot of times, that really stops us from having a fight.
So many times, so many times this has worked out. I mean, and not to say that we always catch it. It makes us sound a little bit like, oh yeah, and then this happens, and then that's a cue for like going into this conversation. And then we have that conversation, and then everything's sorted, and then we go and have some ice cream afterwards.
No, but to be honest, like usually like something happens, we get a little bit heated, and that's when we're like, oh, fact check. It's not like let's do a fact check. But it's like it gets a little bit heated, and then that's where we usually catch it when we catch it.
Yeah, I think we've gotten a lot better at this. I think just looking over, I would say the last like 2 or 3 years, I feel like we've come a long ways
with that.
In that respect.
Mm-hmm, yeah, for sure. But before you read those, if you guys have any like sentences or phrases or things that like mantras, things that help you and your partner like not get into fights, to figure out what's actually going on the surface, then share them. Like another one we have is like, trying to understand like, oh, if like ask questions instead of assuming. So like, if you have an assumption, then instead of like just jumping into that gun, like, do I understand it correctly? If you meant this, and so ask more questions than just assuming.
Yeah, I also feel like when we are like when things get heated and we don't catch it, and we have more of a heated discussion. That's code word for argument. We do have arguments. Then I feel like if I'm listening to you, I hear you say something, then just repeating what I understand from that is a really good way to kind of start, veering back onto the right path.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you actually heard this part of what I said, but this
Did
is
I
the
miss
important
something?
part.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Am I focusing on the wrong things here?
Yeah, exactly. So share yours if you have any like mantras or sentences or something.
Yeah. Or tips, tricks.
Tricks.
We don't have much money to go on vacation, so we do enjoy just being at home, playing games, reading the Bible, and listening to preaching. And then we discuss what we're listening to. That sounds about right. Yeah.
That's nice. Real nice.
Our daily tasks as a homemaker seem so mundane, but it's all in how we perceive our husband's words. I just choose to remember I'm doing the right thing and smile and go on.
That's really good. Like, just remember you're doing the right thing. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the time, just being an adult, I feel like a lot of it is like, bordering on rote repetition, stuff that just feels mundane, stuff that you have to do because you are an adult and, we don't have endless time or money or space or what have you. But then taking that helicopter view, so if you're advising a friend, in the situation that you find yourself in, then you would take that helicopter view. You would, be more objective, less harsh on your friend. And our advice is probably, try to apply that to yourself as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really like the thing about being a homemaker. Like that can be hard. Like I was stayed home for 5 years when we first had kids. And then I was again after Lucas for a year. And then now with her for a year, I'll be home. And it's a different world. Like there's so many, I feel like you're pretty good at this compared to some of my acquaintances' husbands. I'm not going to say friends or anything like you. Don't worry. It's not you if you're looking here. But like the people I know as husbands, like all of them are like, what do you do all day? Or it's not real work to be at home. It is real work to work from home. I feel like you've always kind of seen it that way, which is really nice because that could also be a bone of contention for a lot of people that it's like, oh, well, you're not really working. So
I do have some advice on this one. And I think this happened by accident. When we moved here, you got a temp job pretty quick as a teacher while I was applying for jobs.
So you were stayed home for a month or two.
If you ever get the chance, like honestly, to step into each other's shoes, like
even just for like a few weeks.
Yeah. This was a couple of weeks and I'm like, okay, well, you do what you do exceptionally well. and I'm not jealous.
I do remember that. I do think that was actually really good for us, for you to experience that. Yeah.
Spending time together, the periodical. Hi, thanks for joining and thanks for your comments. Has been essential for us in keeping a close and happy marriage. When there are issues, it's generally because we have made ourselves too independently busy or stressed. So there's no quality time together.
Yeah.
That also sounds very familiar.
I like the sentence independently busy.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Honestly, I think this YouTube channel, it's probably one of the best things that we've decided to do just for our relationship.
I know, because even though there's a lot of work associated with it, a lot more than you actually think, it's stuff we're doing together. And when we make videos, we make it together. When we make outlines, we do it like together. So there's a lot of stuff. We get a lot of quality time together.
Yeah, and I think it's also just kind of like almost like a constantly running crash course on that kind of like brings up like new scenarios that maybe we hadn't experienced at earlier points in our marriage that kind of force us to sit down. But you can't really have a channel on like family life and being organized, and then when issues come up on your side, then just be like,
no.
So we feel like you're watching us and we have to kind of like keep up with that.
Yeah.
So you're keeping us accountable and we appreciate it. So
thank you.
And it's worked very nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. No, actually, oh, I'm sorry. You have to say.
Nope.
Go ahead.
Nothing
Okay.
else.
Because I have more to say about all this stuff about how we can be better at communicating. And the thing is that when things tend to get a little bit heated and there's like something that I like we're arguing about something, then I think you're really good at using humor to kind of like make me feel at least like you crack a joke about something and it makes me feel like, okay, even though we still have an issue that we're talking about, the fact that you're cracking a joke about it makes me feel like, okay, we can get through this. It's not as huge as I'm building up in my head. And like, yeah, like you can see the fun in it and therefore I can too. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, I wouldn't say you're not laughing at me or at the situation. Don't do that. But just like a little comment or something that makes us both see the absurdity of the situation.
Yeah.
You're really good at it. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I think, thanks for noticing that.
Mhm.
That's, I do try to do that. But speaking, we were talking about fireworks earlier in this live.
That's
I feel like it's a bit of a firework. You have to be careful with it.
Yeah, with the jokes.
Because a lot of the time it works really well. And sometimes it's just like,
Most
and
of the
then,
time works really well.
so, you got to keep your humor like up
Yeah,
to par.
there are certain things you shouldn't joke about.
No,
You've
that's
learned
right.
that. Actually, we talked about that right before we got married. Like we decided right then and there, like we will never joke about divorce. So like even though like a lot of people joke about it and it's funny and it's obviously not meant in that way, we just decided like let's never joke about it because like sometimes there's always like a grain of like truth in any like joke or something. So we just don't want there ever to be like that misunderstanding between us. Like, did he actually mean something about this? So that's just never a joke.
And to be honest, like we've just decided like that wasn't really ever going to be an option. Divorce.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah,
also I'm like, okay, I don't want to come across as like, oh, high horse, like looking down on all the people that have divorces. I'm sure there are situations that warrant the discussion, and I just don't want to be like pointing fingers and judging.
No, thanks.
And I think a lot of the things that work for us, a lot of the boundaries, the things that make it so that we have a successful, happy relationship, marriage, and family life, they wouldn't be the same things that would work for you. But I think the point also is that in general on our channel, what we try to do is give more like recipes rather than like final fixed solutions. So have the discussion, talk about like what things that you want or don't want in your relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. Let's
let that
rest.
Let's let it rest and let me read the comment.
Yes.
I think we need to go down further over here.
Oh,
there we go.
How do you not spend money? That seems so insurmountable to me. I do believe I have a problem spending money, and my husband is a saver. That's a big problem for us.
Oh, well, the thing is, I think what really helped for us is the budgeting together, because then we talk in the beginning of the month, what do we need to spend money on this month? And then we budget it out. And when we were in school and we had very little money, like really when we lived in Texas, our income was below poverty line. So we were like, we have not always had, like, I think now we have money to spend on the things that we want to spend on. We're not rich, but I mean, we're working. So there you go. We're not in school anymore. But back then we would budget in the beginning of the month, halfway through the month, we like review the budget, and the end of the month we review it again and see where we spent more than we did. And it was never with like you spent more than we did, but it was like hey, let's see how we can stick to this. And if we then thought of something that wasn't in the budget, we need to spend money that's not in the budget. And we just really only spent money on what we decided together to spend money on.
I know a lot of people, they'll like withdraw the money that they spend or are planning on spending when they budget. I think that sounds reasonable. What we usually do is we move money, the money that we are putting away for savings, the money that we aren't planning on spending that month, we move it at the beginning of the month when we budget out of the account. So we'll know if we're like getting closer, and then that's kind of the cue. I mean, I'm sure you can like break it down in different ways as well. I think that, for us, again, that works, but I'd probably start by just like having that discussion with your husband and see, like, hey, let's see what we can do. Let's try something out. Let's experiment.
Yeah. Because we went over it in the middle of the month and the end of the month, we always we had a really good understanding of how much money we actually spent on groceries and what we actually spent on gifts and on clothes and all these things because we analyzed it so thoroughly. So like we had a pretty good idea of what we spent on those items. So if there's something else we needed, then we would have a pretty good idea of what that amount would be as well.
I mean, the sheet that we set, so we set up a spreadsheet, maybe no huge surprises for anyone who's followed us for a while. But the sheet that we had basically had like, okay, column how much we were spending, and then halfway through the month we'd fill it in, and then we could see like color coded, how much of the budget for that category for that month we'd already eaten up, and then that would be the hint.
And then some weeks I'd have to spend less on groceries, and other weeks I could spend more.
but we don't actually do that very much anymore. I know there are also a lot of like, I'd ask your bank. I mean, there might be if you use like internet banking or if you just talk to your bank advisor, there might be solutions that they have for you to help out with that. So I'd look into that. There's a lot more, I think, now than when we started budgeting 11 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
Yep. Okay.
We're the same.
A couple more comments. Yeah, we're the same. I am the saver. Wife is a spender. For us, it works very well. It creates a much healthier balance than two savers or two spenders, which would be a nightmare. Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good point. It's a good, healthy balance.
Yeah. I think if we're both savers, then we probably wouldn't eat very much. You do most of the grocery shopping. So
I think we're both savers and we're both spenders in different areas.
Yeah.
For sure. Like I have such a hard time spending money on myself. I don't know why, because I did not have a problem with that before I married you. But like now it's just like, oh, I'd rather spend the money on buying something for the kids or for you or something. I just don't know. It's hard for me to go buy some clothes for myself.
I keep telling you to go buy some clothes.
But I just have a hard time. So I'd rather save there.
Yeah.
But with with like food and gifts and things, well, gifts I think we're pretty much the same. But like there are other areas where you're more of a spender with like a gadget or something.
Yeah. When it comes to Christmas, we're both spenders.
We're both not very logical. No, I think
Christmas
we're logical. We're just more like Christmas. We're just gonna
love
save
Christmas.
Up for it.
Yeah, we're already planning our Christmas now.
Yeah, we are. Anyways,
I didn't realize until just recently, but I'm very selfish. I buy for me all the time. I think that's a good realization to come to.
Yeah. I think you buy bigger items. You have a lot easier time like getting your mind around like, oh yeah, I need this, so I can buy a computer or something. So more than I would, but I think you'd never buy any big item without like us discussing it first.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, and then it's like, okay, we discuss it, and if that's it, then okay, go ahead. If we have the money, then I'm okay with it.
I do think I spend more money on just random fun stuff than you do.
I don't even know. Maybe. Probably.
So if you tell her to spend some money, like not that we have a whole lot of money.
I just got a baby, so as soon as I'm down to the weight I want to be again, then I'll go buy a new wardrobe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You heard it. You heard it.
Okay. Anyways.
Crystal said when we first got together, we would use labeled envelopes for bills and put half of the bill money in each paycheck. Yeah. So exactly. That's what I've seen.
Like
people
envelope
do. It seems like it works.
are really good too for a lot of people.
We haven't tried it out.
We've never done that. No.
But I've seen enough of it, and I talked to enough people that do it.
But we have had the envelope system in bank accounts. Like we had like 6 bank accounts when we lived in Iceland, and they're like, this was the gift bank account, this is a savings bank account. So it's kind of the same thing. And then we only had a card for one bank account. So if we needed money from the other accounts, we'd have to go log in and then transfer money. So
Jeanette is suggesting that maybe I should buy you clothes.
That's such a great idea.
No. Okay. So I think that the idea is fine.
Yes.
I think my capability of like judging what fits you
my size
is somewhat lacking, and I just wouldn't want to venture into that territory.
No. Thank you though. And that's a really sweet thought.
Yes. Yael said, hey, we look way too well rested. We did take a nap today.
We did do that today.
Kids were at school.
The two youngest were sleeping at the same time. We're like, let's sleep.
Yeah.
And you were working from home.
Working from home, so my lunch break was
a little longer. And then you
taking
worked a little longer as well, so it's fine.
Yeah. But yeah,
That's
working
why.
from home, happy days. So we're not magicians. All right. You had one last example.
Yes, I did.
This has been really fun, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for joining
your
us for
comments.
this. It's really nice. Okay, so my last story, I guess, is that we lived in Iceland. So this is what we'd been married 2 years or something at this point, maybe. We had Marcus, and he was probably less than a year old. I was out somewhere and I came home. It was a weekday night. It'd been kind of a mess in the apartment when I left, because I left in a hurry. I came home, walked through the apartment, I was about to tell you something like personal, turn a corner, and we're in my kitchen. There's your mom. She's standing there. She's doing the dishes, and like you had called her because you had a question about something with Marcus. And either you asked her to come over and help, or she offered to come over and help. And she was there. She helped with the baby, and then she did the dishes and helped clean up and hung out. And there's nothing wrong in this now when I look at the situation. So thank the mother-in-law. If you're watching, then I love you, and you can do this anytime you want. Come over, do my dishes, watch my kids. I would love it. But at that point, I was just so insecure still in my role as a new mother and I guess homemaker, that I was just a little bit like annoyed at you. Like, you should be able to figure this out yourself, or we can do our own dishes or something like that. And I think it's just super important for us to find our own family dynamics early on. So what we did, not because of this, so not because my mother-in-law came over and did our dishes, that's not why we moved halfway across the world, but we moved to Texas where we didn't have any like close family by, and we just had to like figure out stuff ourselves. And I think that has really solidified our union as like a couple, both with family, because we also live close to my family, live close to your family. It's been wonderful, and there's a reason why we live close to family now again. But it was just, yeah, it was really good for us to have those years where we had to rely on each other alone.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But I think it brings up another point as well that we haven't really discussed.
Sorry, mother-in-law, I love you so much. There's nothing wrong. It was such a sweet thought, and I'm really grateful for it. Just had to say that.
Please come visit.
Please come visit soon and do my dishes. Anyways, go ahead.
No, but my the point I was going to make was that you mentioned this with the insecurities, because I think going back to where we started this evening, you mentioned our first argument. I think I remember what that stemmed from
where I jumped out of the metro and you stayed,
and you're like babying me, like a little bit. You're like, oh, you can come with me, and I was super insecure. I was, because you are 2.5 years older than I am. Obviously, your friends by extension are also older. And back when we were dating and courting, I just had this like feeling that they all see me as this like little baby boy. It's, you're like boy toy. No, so and I was insecure about that, and I think that sparked
the discussion.
That I mean, I at least
argument.
remember having those feelings and having discussions about that back in the day, and I think it's just, I mean, this is maybe just more for yourself rather than your interaction with your spouse, but like be confident, and if you have any issues, then bring it up with your spouse. Like, be vulnerable. I think that's a good tip for any relationship, is just like put all the cards on the table. And because it's not an issue for me anymore. I've got so many gray hairs that I'm pretty convinced that like nobody really looks at me as like a
boy toy anymore.
A little boy anymore. Anyway,
probably not.
Veering off track.
No, but it's a really good point. Like, we all have insecurities. If it's like weight, or if it's our looks, or if it's our like how smart we are, or whatever, or age. Like, we all have insecurities. So know what buttons not to push in your relationship, and also just work on yourself. Like, call out your own game. Like, hey, is this an insecurity that's causing this, or is it actually an issue? Yeah,
it's kind of like the same approach we were talking about earlier with these are the facts
Like
let's discuss
every
them.
time I'm pregnant, I have. It's been 4 times now. Every time I'm pregnant, I have these horrible dreams about you cheating on me, and it's basically only when I'm pregnant, and I don't know why. But like, there must be some insecurities that come out when I'm pregnant about like you not finding me attractive or loving me. I don't know, but yeah, I have very livid, like very real dreams, and whenever I wake up from one of those dreams, it just feels so real, and you kind of pay for it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't think that's fair.
It's not at all. But I mean, those are insecurities.
I have to I'm waking up at like 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sorry for whatever dream Bennett did to you.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I've learned, and I've gotten a lot better at it. I've learned to like, this is a dream. It's not real, and like have to kind of like call out my own insecurities there.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. Moving on.
Yes.
Crystal is older than her husband too.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay. I wouldn't want my husband's mom coming over and seeing the mess I have during the day. I think it's
fair. Also because we had a lot more mess back then. A lot more than we do now.
Be totally transparent is my philosophy in life. Also,
yeah.
Swear by that. That's a good one.
Husbands
are best friend.
Well, that's good. you. I love you.
You keep saying though that we're not like best friends.
We probably are.
I think we are, but not like in the girlfriend best friend.
No,
best
exactly. Friend. We made a video. Which one was it? The what I wish I'd known before got married.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I made a video about that a few months ago now, and I said that he was my best friend, and I've been here for that ever since.
No, I
just have a best friend that I share other things with, and that I need.
And
in a different way than you.
Exactly. That was the point. That okay. That there are other needs that also have to be met that I will not meet.
Yes.
But it was a little brutal coming to terms with the fact that like you do not, even if I wanted to watch a chick flick with you.
Oh, you don't.
No, I know I don't.
And if you ever do, then I have to like suffer through all your like stupid comments and like, so it's not worth it.
Realistic.
No. Not worth it.
No.
So yeah,
no. We've agreed on that. We've settled on that.
Yeah.
Happy equilibrium there.
Mm.
Couple more comments. I still have those dreams about my husband at work, and I used to be mad at him. Do you know that Friends episode? What was that? Was that Phoebe? I can't remember. She was like angry at Ross.
Yeah, and then it turned out it was actually a dream.
It was a dream.
At the end of the episode, I see.
That's what I feel like.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Maliana is saying, I think all newlyweds should move to another country for their from their families. Such an awesome growing experience together.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Or just go on a very like extended trip somewhere,
It doesn't have to be another country, another state as well. I mean, it's because we live in like Iceland, Denmark. They're smaller than any state. So
if you can afford that, that's Or it's a positive spin on this whole COVID thing. If you do have to stay home, then like
you're away from everyone.
Learn to depend on each other. Yeah. Cool. I don't have anything else. I think this has been a very thorough, enjoyable discussion with a lot of interaction. We appreciate it so much. We like every time. If you could see us like the 3 minutes before sitting down for a live video, like it's always like, okay, how many people are waiting, and then
we hope people are going to participate and stuff, and you do, and it's so wonderful to just kind of like get that interaction with you. Get to know you, even though we've never met you, and just like feel like we're learning from you as much as it's like we're sharing.
Yeah, hopefully you're learning something from us as well. If nothing else, and enjoying our
wackiness.
Yeah,
that's fine.
That's a good word for it. All right, but thank you so much for joining us. We've got a few exciting videos coming up in the next weeks and months. So hopefully you'll check in again next Thursday. If you've enjoyed this video, then please give it a like. If you haven't subscribed and you found yourself here and you kind of think, hey, what's going on here? Then maybe like click around, have a look at some of the other videos. And if you like that, then please subscribe. And then, we'll see you next week.
Thursday. Great.